Beautiful souls. I am Valeria Maritza at Healing Through You. I am an infinite being of light, and so are you. Today, I want to talk to you about changing the laws that we have been taught and been living with throughout most of our lives. Um, what does that mean? It means the linear world, the world that says, do this, then you get that. What? You're saying, what? How does that work? What do you mean? That's the way things do work. You have to work hard in order to be successful. You have to work X amount of hours in order to make it. You need to have a university degree in order to really have opportunities out there. Those were all true. They were all applying to the way that we were living for many, many, many years. But this is the time where everything is changing and ascending in a way that if you continue to believe the linear way, it will no longer serve you. And in fact, it will make things much more difficult. Actually, a lot of us have been looking at this and feeling this and experiencing this already. Look at all the student debt, right? You are told if you have a degree, then you will have the opportunities and you will be successful. And so many people for so many years now have gotten these huge amounts of student debt, and then they begin to work to pay the student debt. And then some of them are like year after year after year, still not paying off that student debt. And so, where is the success? Where is the ease? Where is the abundance of money and the ease? And I made it because I followed all of those things. Obviously, it's not working. Why? Because it has changed. Things have changed in the consciousness, in the world, in the way things work. How many entrepreneurs do you know that are making way more money without the little paper on the wall? Just think about that. Just think about it and begin to figure this out and see how many people who have made it on their own. And I'm not talking about getting a job with a good company, because to get a job with a good company, you do need those things because they're still very linear. But I'm talking about doing your own business and going out in the wild and doing things that have been unprecedented and doing things that are just different, that are not the norm for most people. That a lot of people are like, that's too risky, you can't do it. And of course, all the can'ts come in, but you know deep inside that this is for you, and then you do it, and then they do it, right? Then they begin to be successful and feel all of this really great things happening because you're in flow and you're following the new way, which is not the linear way. It's the way of following within, following your hunches, following your intuition, following your desires that are inside, and taking action without really listening to everybody else who says you need to do this before, such as musical artists, right? They're getting younger and younger and younger and younger. They have been getting younger for years, right? And a lot of them, they just do things at home. They just do what they want. They want to do what they want to do. They express themselves. Then they go out there, they get discovered, and here they are. They didn't follow the norm of doing all of this work and getting themselves seen, and finding someone who takes care of them, and puts them out there in the media. They have done this. Like Billie Eilish is one of those artists, right? She just did everything on her own, with her brother, right? At home. They did all of this at home. So all of these new things are happening because there's a new energy that supports you when you are following your intuition, following your inner knowing. And on that same line, I'm not just talking about entrepreneurs and doing your own thing in business, but also in believing what you have been told, such as medical stuff, right? How many people get diagnosed with something that's really terrible, horrible, there's no cure, or that there's, just not going to be an easy road, such as cancer, or something like that, right? And you get the diagnosis and you get told this is what you have. And you immediately withdraw into this little ball of fear where you are giving all of your power to whomever is in front of you wearing the white coat, telling you this is what it is, this is the percentage, these are your chances, this is the line of treatment that you must do in order to survive. And we believe it. We believe it because we have been trained to believe these things, right? To believe it because that's the person in front of us who is wearing the white coat, the one who did all the linear things of studying. But if you're here, if you're listening to this or anything like this, then you know that that is only one choice. I'm not saying it's not valid. Obviously, it is. Medical practices do have a place in our consciousness, in our world. But there are so many other ways that we can also explore and add to the pot of healing, right? So if you're listening to this, then you know that there have been many people, like people are like, oh, you think of something, you're like, yeah, that's incurable, that's the only way, there's no other way. Really? Now think really back. Who is telling you that? Your ego, right? Your ego, who keeps gathering all of these informations of can'ts. And yet, if you really start thinking and looking and searching, researching, you will find people who have instantaneously cured from a terrible disease that they were told it was incurable. You see it in the Bible, even, right? Jesus coming over, you're like, oh, yeah, that's Jesus. Well, you know what? It happens everywhere, right? People who do the work, the inner work, and then they release the stuck emotion that had been there, the one that the shadows, the parts that we refuse to look at, and then the disease that we created in our bodies also dissolves, because all disease comes from stuck emotions, things that we are not willing to look at, things that we are too scared to voice. And so we just put them in our body, and the more we keep them there, they eventually turn into some type of manifestation that is not pleasant for our body, such as some type of disease. So there are different ways of getting rid of a moving energy in order to heal your body naturally, right? Your body is the most intelligent thing that you have access to. It knows what to do without you telling it what to do, right? Your lungs know how to take the air and the oxygen and distribute it through your body. Your blood knows how to flow through all of your veins and come back. Your heart knows how to beat without you telling it. These are all parts of your body that are actively working for your best interest, to keep you alive, to keep you sane. You don't even know how many times you have caught some type of virus and your body was so intelligent, because you were vibrating at a high level, that it was able to delete that and get rid of it from your body without you even knowing it had been entered in there. You didn't even know you caught it. Your body was so intelligent that it went in there and just got rid of it, because you were living in a high frequency level. You are having a good time, you are laughing, you are sending love, you are being loved. You are in that place when you caught this, and then it didn't manifest. As opposed, if you are feeling down, depressed, and angry, and blaming people, and feeling like the victim, then what happens? You're living at a low frequency and you're attracting these things. And if you catch something, they have the virus, or the disease has a greater chance of developing within your body and manifesting, right? So all of those things take place. And this is the time to really look into what you trust and believe inside without the ego. And that is when you have something and you feel like, oh my goodness, this is what I have. The doctor says this, and it just doesn't feel right. It feels scary. It feels like, oh my goodness, this is so scary. It feels so hard. It feels like I don't want to do that. That's not coming out of your, what is that called? what am I trying to think here? Vanity. It's not coming out of vanity. It's coming out of an inner knowing of your body screaming at you and saying, there are more ways to support you during this difficult time. Yes, that's a choice. Yes, that can help you. Yes, that is difficult. There are other ways that you can also implement, either at the same time, in lieu of, whatever, right? I'm not saying to get rid of whatever medical doctor is telling you, because a lot of times, because we're still living in a human body, we do need both things, especially if we're not really advanced in your spiritual journey. You might actually need both. You might need a little bit of this and a little bit of that in order to make a full recovery in the fastest way possible. Same thing with business and entrepreneurship, right? You might need a little bit of like what you already learned, what you already went through with the linear ways. Maybe you already have a couple of papers on the wall stating how much you studied and what you can do. But perhaps that's no longer aligning with you. And even though you have it there, now you're using all of those skills that you learned in the linear world to create the business that you want right now. You're using that, and you're using your spiritual side, the extra, the part that you follow your gut, that you follow your intuition, the part that tells that your heart is telling you this is the way, even though you have no idea why, but you do it anyway. That is the merging of both energies, of both sides, because you're still living in a three-dimensional world, that you begin to open up and do things that are led by your heart, by your soul, through love, doing things through love. That is the key here, right? So that is part of what I wanted to talk to you about today, because I've heard people, many people, and it happens to me all the time. It comes into my awareness. Somebody says this happened, and I'm talking more about disease, right? Getting diagnosed with something and immediately going for something that you've been told this is the cure, even though in a lot of times it isn't a cure. It's just a blockage of symptoms, right? It's just treating the symptoms. Like, for example, you have a headache, take a certain type of pill, and that will get rid of your headache. Does it get rid of the headache? Yeah. No. What it does is it trains your receptors to not receive the information that there is pain. And so you don't feel the pain. Well, they got rid of my pain, and that's what I wanted, right? That's what you're saying. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Most headaches will go away through time. And also, when you give yourself the time to reflect, a lot of times it happens at night while you're sleeping. You know, people who have migraines, they need to lay down, they're flat on their backs because they can't do anything. The migraine is so bad. And what are they doing? They're doing nothing, right? Because they can't. They're just resting. A lot of times they fall asleep. The body heals while you sleep. And then they wake up and, oh, the headache is gone, right? Time and the body healing itself. And then when you take some type of pill to get rid of it, it's not actually getting rid of it. It's just getting rid of the receptor that your body is telling you, hey, there's something wrong here. There's something that you need to look at. There's something that's telling you stop and look. And you no longer feel that. And so you don't feel the pain. It doesn't mean that whatever's causing it is not still potent and it's not still there. It is still there, right? It just allows you to go about your day kind of like skipping it, right? You're skipping the part of the healing. You keep working, you keep doing the things, you keep going to the places, right? And then what does that do? It makes you have another headache later on, right? More often, because you didn't allow the body the time to heal. This is why when people get so knocked over by a migraine that they have to lay down and they have to sleep, or they have to just lay down and do nothing, it's better than when you take something, because you are allowing the body the time it needs, the space it needs, the quiet it needs for it to heal itself. Have you ever thought about that? Did you realize any of this? gosh, I'm on fire today. Everything's just like coming through me so quickly. I was actually in the restroom getting ready for the day, putting my makeup on, all of that. In the middle of it, I started receiving all of these messages, and I just had to stop, drop everything, come grab my computer, and begin talking, because that's what I heard I needed to do. The message is coming just so clearly. And this is directly channeled from the beings of light, which are my main support system, plus the angels, of course. I called in Archangel Raphael this morning to put a healing light upon us, to give us more healing energy, to be able to allow our bodies to heal with more ease and with more speed, because that's the angel of healing, Archangel Raphael, which is really interesting, because I've always seen and imagined and visualized Archangel Raphael in green. And then I started looking for like pictures and stuff, and he's like always put in red for some reason. So it's really interesting for me, because it's just the way that we see it, right? I see it as green, the healing energy of the earth. Um, and doesn't mean there is anything wrong or right, or that one is correct and one isn't. It's just the way that we perceive things. I don't know why I'm talking to you about this, but okay. Getting back to following your inner wisdom, your inner light, your inner wants, your intuition, to do the things that you want to do without thinking, because thinking comes from the ego and the mind, which is very three-dimensional, very constricted, of the how, of just acting, taking action on an impulse. That is the way that the energies are supporting us now. That is the way that you will create these big leaps in your life, big, grand ways of advancing, not only in your spiritual life, but in your three-dimensional life, right? And continuing to follow those little hints and wants, you like when you're walking with a child and there's a puddle because it rained the day before, and that child instantly wants to just go and jump on it, and they do it. That. You're not thinking, oh, I'm going to get wet. Oh, I'm not wearing rain boots. Oh, maybe mom or dad will get mad if I get, dirty. They don't think that, right? It's the impulse of, oh, I want to do that, and just do it. That. Try to find your inner child and act upon the desires and the wishes that are coming through for you without stopping. As soon as you stop, you convince yourself not to do it. All of the reasons not to do it come in. So you must act immediately, like right in the moment. It doesn't matter why, just do it. This actually happened to me yesterday. I was listening to some music, I was dancing, another video came up, I looked at it, I didn't like it, I stopped it, and then I saw another one that talked about life regression, and I was like, ooh, I think I want to do that. And I did. I just stopped. I stopped in my tracks and I did that. I hadn't been thinking about it. I hadn't looked into it. I wasn't desiring to do this in the moment, or like anything. I just decided to stop and try it out. And I did. And I had an amazing experience. I'm talking about like a really amazing experience. I'll tell you about it in another time. And that's what it's like, right? I just felt it. I was like, oh, yeah, like that. My heart says yes. And I stopped what I was doing. I was able to do it, and I just did it. So rewarding. This is the way that your entire life can continue to happen for your greater good and the greater good of everyone around you when you begin to follow that song in your heart. And with that, my loves, I leave you until next time. Bye bye.